Hello, everyone, welcome back to the World Conflict Monitor. Please subscribe and like my videos. Today, we dive deep into a dramatic turning point unfolding in Belarus, where Alexander Lukashenko may be more isolated than ever. The shocking reports of an army betrayal fueling a nationwide revolt raise urgent questions. How deep is the fracture? Is this really the beginning of the end for Lukashenko's grip on power? Let's explore every angle: the exterior appearance, what lies behind the walls of the regime, how it's performing under stress, the risks and safety factors at play, what makes this moment unique, what's at stake, the price, and what the future might look like as we bring it all to a close. From the outside, the situation looks chaotic yet charged with possibility. Thousands have poured into city squares in Minsk and regional capitals, waving flags, chanting slogans, and calling for Lukashenko's resignation. Military vehicles are sighted at unexpected places, sometimes blocking main roads, other times abandoned at strategic points. The interior of government buildings, ministries, security service headquarters, and even presidential offices are reportedly under siege or heavily guarded, with shifting loyalties among guards and functionaries. On paper, the regime still stands. Lukashenko appears in televised statements, security forces issue threats, and state media insists the protests are orchestrated by foreign enemies. But the sheen is fading. Fractures are visible, key ministers are missing in action, broadcast frequencies are interrupted, and digital platforms show that the opposition is coordinating massive civil disobedience. The exterior facade of control is cracking. Barricades appear, protests reach deep into neighborhoods, and local administrations in many towns are reportedly bypassing central orders. Inside, the power center is in turmoil. The interior is vast: the corridors of power within the presidential palace, the security apparatus, the intelligence services, and the network of regional governors, police, and military commanders. These interior spaces once pulsed with confidence and tight coordination. Now they are riddled with mistrust and confusion. Imagine high-level meetings where generals quietly question orders, where regional police commanders refuse to obey direct commands, where state TV studios go silent mid-broadcast. Inside the presidential office, formerly a bastion of authority, change agents may be whispering in the ears of aides, coercing resignations, and plotting shifts in loyalty. Within the security services, segments are hedging bets. Some remain loyal to Lukashenko, others are flirting with defectors. Interior communications are compromised, secure lines are being tapped, orders are being leaked, and intelligence officers are walking into crossroads, forced to choose allegiance or exile. Local administration offices, district governors, mayors, law enforcement precincts are also interior battlefields. In many localities, officials are refusing to enforce curfews, arrest protesters, or even acknowledge orders from central authority. Civic activists are entering municipal buildings, posting demands on notice boards, occupying offices. In certain towns, new local councils aligned with protest leadership are forming, bypassing the official chain of command. In some prisons and detention centers, guards are said to question whether to carry out brutal repression orders or stand down. The interior tension is not just political, but social and human. The morale of security forces is dropping. Defectors are showing up in protest rallies wearing their uniforms, and the regime's internal discipline is fraying. Performance under stress is revealing. The regime once relied on overwhelming control, surveillance, a tightly controlled media, and a loyal security apparatus, but now the performance of those tools is failing. Communications blackouts, internet throttling, and social media restrictions are being circumvented through mesh networks and VPN. Protest organizers report that messages still flow, that mobilization continues despite blockade. Security forces are stretched thin. deploying in multiple cities simultaneously, responding to flash protests, trying to maintain order in the face of mass civil disobedience. Their performance is uneven in areas with heavy deployment, repression is fierce, but elsewhere authorities seem passive, reluctant to engage or overwhelmed. Some units refuse to fire on civilians, others pledge protective neutrality. In certain areas, protests have become self-organized, with community volunteers stepping in to clean streets, provide first aid, shield protesters. The regime is improvising curfews declared, checkpoints set up, live broadcasts warning of chaos, but the performance is reactive rather than commanding. On the international stage, Lukashenko's performance is defensive. He is appealing to Russia for support, warning of foreign interference, and attempting to frame the uprising as orchestrated by enemies. Yet Russia's response is cautious, possibly waiting to see which side prevails before intervening more forcefully. Meanwhile, Western and regional governments issue statements condemning violence, imposing sanctions, and offering moral support to protesters. That external pressure adds another level of performance test. Can Lukashenko survive both internal revolt and external isolation? Safety features or the lack thereof matter greatly in a crisis like this. For protesters, safety comes from numbers, unity, decentralized planning, and media exposure. Flash protests, rapid dispersal, and rotating leadership reduce vulnerability. In many cities, protest marshals form human lines to protect demonstrators, shielding them from riot police. Drones, live streams, and open reporting act as deterrents to outright violence, because any massacre would quickly be exposed globally. Meanwhile, for security forces, safety features include bunker protections for key government sites, hardened command centers, armored vehicles, and intelligence networks to preempt attacks or mutinies. But these safety systems are under stress. Defectors can leak security plans, barricades are vulnerable, and some command centers are reportedly locked down by protest-aligned forces. The regime may rely on mercenaries or elite units to protect core leadership, but those are limited assets and easily overwhelmed if many units refuse to engage. The safety net of repression is thinning. If any major security hub falls, command and control collapse becomes possible. On the international side, diplomatic safety features exist. Russia or allied states could provide backstop military or logistical support, offering Lukashenko fallback options. But that intervention carries its own risks: internal backlash, international sanctions, and potential escalation into wider conflict. What are the unique selling points of this moment? What makes this uprising distinct from previous Belarusian protests? First, the scale and breadth. Nearly every region reports protests, from urban centers to rural towns. This is not just Minsk, it's nationwide. Second, the involvement or defection of security forces, army, border guards, riot police suggests cracks at the heart of the regime, not just street actions. Third, communication resilience. Protest organizers have adopted decentralized, peer-to-peer messaging, using encrypted apps, mesh networks, social media detours, making it harder for the regime to snuff out coordination. Fourth, symbolic boldness. Protesters chant not simply against corruption or authoritarianism, but demand wholesale regime change. Slogans call for transition, new elections, a break from Russian dependency. Fifth, the timing. Rising economic pressures, pandemic discontent, generational shifts, and international pressure combine to produce a higher stakes context. Sixth, international visibility. This is no longer internal Chernobyl level repression. Global media, sanctions, diplomatic reactions ensure that any violent crackdown would carry high reputational and geopolitical cost. Finally, the uncertainty of external alliances means sides are hedging. No one is sure which direction Russia, the EU, or neighboring states will lean. This ambivalence magnifies the stakes of every move. Now, what is the price literally and figuratively of this revolt? For Lukashenko, the political cost is existential. If he loses control of key security units, he loses capacity to govern. The price could be exile, prosecution, or worse. The economic cost is huge: sanctions, capital flight, disruption of trade, collapse in investor confidence, and internal collapse of services. For ordinary citizens, the price is lives, injuries, arrests, social disruption, shortages of food and medicine, and chaos. For security forces that choose to defect, the price could be retribution or assassination. For protesters, the price is brutal repression, mass arrests, or worse. On the diplomatic level, Belarus could become a regional flashpoint, leading to military interventions, border conflicts, refugee flows. The price of international intervention is escalation into a wider conflict, particularly if Russian forces get involved. The price is also moral: choices about whether violence is justified, whether civil disobedience is enough, how far the population is willing to endure suffering for change. The price is high on all sides, but the revolt's leaders may be betting that the regime cannot absorb those costs indefinitely. In conclusion, what we are witnessing in Belarus may be a moment of irreversible rupture. The exterior show of control is cracking, the interior of the regime is in flux, the performance of both sides is under tremendous stress, safety nets are tenuous. The uniqueness of this uprising sets it apart from previous protests, and the price, political, human, economic, is enormous. Whether Lukashenko can hold on depends on whether he can reassert control over the security apparatus and suppress protests without triggering mass defections or international backlash. Whether protesters succeed depends on maintaining unity, strategic discipline, external support, and resilience under repression. The coming days and weeks will tell whether Belarus moves toward a new chapter or sinks into darker conflict. For now, the revolt is alive.